Okay, so here I am. I'm going to work on my budgie. I've just taken off all my little bits of fabric and I'm going to start sewing down my base piece. So firstly, I want my budgie to slot in with my tree branch. So I am just going to do an overcast stitch across the bottom to hold it in place and to keep it nice and low so it looks like it's actually sitting on the tree. The type of thread that I'm using to stitch with is this, which is a DMC, quite a thin wool. This was the label. It doesn't say what the thickness is, and this was the other part. It's just like a thin tapestry wool. It doesn't say what like thickness, but it's quite a thin one. And it's like a nice bright green because that part of my budgie's body is green. So I need to hold it in place. So again, this has been a really good theme this month. There's been some terrific birds, lots of different interpretations and ideas of what people have done, and a variety of colourful backgrounds, depending on what your favourite colour was. So I think this has been a really interesting month as well. Probably the cottage and this month so far have been my favourite themes. I really loved one I saw the other day, yesterday I think it was, can't remember who posted it on Facebook, but it had a gorgeous kookaburra. So I'm sure you all know kookaburras are native to Australia and they make a sound that does sound like they're laughing. I live next door to a big old sandstone church and I look into the back of the church from my living room, and often in the morning the kookaburras are sitting on top of the sandstone cross high up in the air, doing their morning call, so we kind of wake up to the sounds of kookaburras. And I am in the city, so yep, you can see them, you actually see them quite regularly around the city, and obviously you see them quite a lot in the bush as well. So that stitching that I saw yesterday was really cool. I love the kookaburra, and I also saw a cluster of different native Australian parrots. I think there was a cockatoo and things like that as well. On Facebook I saw that one. That was probably a couple of days ago, and I thought that one was really good as well. Lots of embroidery. You're not really going to see, I am just stitching this in place, but you're really not going to see these stitches because the wings are going to cover it up. So I'm not too fussed about how they look. It's just starting off by holding everything in place. So I'm going to pause just for a few minutes, well, just a little while. I'm going to stitch down this main body part and then the tail part, and then I'm going to layer up the fabric. So when I come back, I'll show you how I layer up the fabrics. Okay, so my base pieces are stitched in place. Now you won't end up seeing all the overcast stitches because I will end up layering up some more fabrics over the top, so some of it will be hidden because I want to give it some dimension, some sort of different textures and things like that. So this is actually a piece of bright green corduroy. I'm going to stitch it in place. This Appleton wool is going to go really nicely with that colour, so I'm going to stitch that in place. Now these are some of the Appleton wools that Rach and I found at the Crafty Op shop. We actually got these ones for 50 cents each. So I've got a lot of different colours, which is good because I need to build up a stash. Okay, so hopefully you can see. This is called Persimmon Studio Art, and the lady that sews these amazing birds is called Anne. So I'm getting a lot of inspiration from her wonderful birds that she stitches. So I'll just flip through a few photos so you can see. So she gets lots of lovely texture, and that's what I'd like to try and achieve as well. Beautiful texture. So she's actually, love that, with a little bit of lace there. I love all the little frayed edges, so I'll be aiming to do something similar. So she has been doing a lot of birds lately, which I think look wonderful, and they remind me a little bit of the ones I showed you the other day. So just to give you an idea, worth following on Instagram if you like the birds. Like, look at that, that's so pretty. So I'm definitely taking a bit of inspiration from Anne and also Mandy Patullo, which is the person I showed you the other day, the book. Okay, so with this one, I'm just going, you're only going to see part of it because I'm going to layer another fabric up on top of it as well. And I'm just going to do a simple running stitch with small stitches, reasonably small stitches around the edge. Oh, that colour matches perfectly. I wanted it to blend in a bit, and it is. Alright, I think you get the idea, so I might pause and speed up the video. Okay, so my running stitch is done. And now I think I might play around with the wings. Okay, so the wings, I've cut out an extra piece in a different coloured fabric. Just show you. Extra piece in a different coloured, like a sort of bluey green, and then I'm going to layer this on top. And I want to rough that up a bit to give it some texture. So I'll show you how I rough that up first. So if I just stick it down on my mat and I just use the tip of my needle to scratch the fabric. See how it's getting rough? Frayed on the edges. Just using the tip of my needle, scratching the fabric, pulling little bits out, little threads out. And then you can see I will get a few strings that I'll just pull out. Or you could trim them if you want to as well. Might trim those ones. Okay, so now when I'm going to stick it down, like stitch it down, not stick it, stitch it. Now I'm going to get some lovely texture along that edge, a bit of a rough edge, and I might texture up the top wing a little bit as well. So same technique, just scratching the fabric, to loosen up some of the fibres. Just a little tiny trim, and then that is going to be stitched on top. So I think I'm going to stitch these down at the same time. Slightly lighter green, this one. Let me just see if I've got a better colour. Okay, let's have a look at, I've got a few options here. I like that one, it's a bit thicker, that wool. I think I'll go with that one. Or maybe I'll go with this light blue, a bit more of a contrast with the green. Just seeing if what size, if it says it on this one. No. Nope. Again, all these wools have come from the Crafty Op shop, and I've got a pile of them that I haven't put onto the thread winders yet, and my cat really enjoys playing with the wool. She's always pulling them out and playing with them. So some of them look a bit messy because she's been attacking them. I don't know what it is about cats and wool. They just love wool. I really do have a lot of sorting out to do because when Rach was here, I bought a lot of wools. And I bought one new container from the Crafty Op shop, which was $3, and I think I'm going to need at least another couple more because there's so many wools. I'm going to need more space. Alright, so I think I'm just going to do some random stitches. So just random straight stitches are going to hold my wings in place. Might do a little running stitch down the side, the far side of the wing first, and then I'll do my random stitches. Excuse me, tickly nose. Isn't it funny, every time you sneeze near someone you go, oh, it's not COVID. You sneeze, you sniffle, you cough, whatever, everyone just looks at you. I don't know if it's like that where you live, but it's certainly like this, like that here. So running stitch, trying to do just small stitches down the edge. I'm going through both those pieces of wing fabric and then obviously down through the base fabrics. And like I said, I don't mind if it frays up on the edges because that's just sort of adding like texture, kind of like feathers. And then I think I'm going to just do some random straight stitches on the wing as well in the same colour. So again, I've got hockey tonight. I don't have a game. It's just training tonight. Last week was kind of like a makeup game for a weekend that we missed because we have had a lot of rain. Usually we can play in the rain except because the turf that I play on gets watered. Otherwise the ball doesn't flow smoothly, kind of gets stuck. And so it's okay in the rain, but if it rains too heavily, the field can't drain quick enough and the field will get flooded, and when it's like that the ball just doesn't move. It's hard to hit the ball, it just stops. So we kind of had like a make-up game because we were behind everybody else with our games. And we ended up losing that game. We played a very good team. I think they might be the top. Anyway, they were very good. They were strong. It was a great game. Eventually, our first quarter wasn't great. They scored pretty quickly, and then I think we leveled it up at 1-1, and then they scored again, so it was 2-1, and then we were playing really well. I don't think anyone scored in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter they scored 2 pretty easy goals through our goalie, which she would normally stop. She made some great saves earlier in the match, but she'd injured her calf and she could only stand on one leg, and she didn't really tell us because we could have got her off and replaced her, but she ended up playing the last quarter without being able to move, so she let goals in because she wasn't moving to block them like she normally would. And she only told us right at the end of the quarter, like literally 30 seconds to go, about how hurt she was, which is a pity because we could have got her off and put someone else on. But anyway, we ended up losing 4-1, which is a big loss for us. We've played 5 games, we've won 3 and lost 2, so I think we're coming third, which is good. There are a couple of really strong teams in our division, so they're going to be difficult to beat, but if we get ourselves going, I think we'll be quite competitive. So tonight's training, and it's good because we often have a guy that comes and helps us. He'd have to be, I'd say probably in his 70s, Ken, good old Ken. And he comes and helps us, and he helps our coach, and he's an amazing coach. He used to play hockey for Australia, and he used to play my position, so that's good for me because he does give some really good tips on defence, which is what I do. And he won, I think it was 2 medals at the Olympics, 1 gold and 1 bronze, which he's brought to training before to show us. So it's pretty cool that we've got kind of an assistant helper coach that comes along to teach us, and he was an Australian Olympian. And he comes for nothing. Like he won't let our main coach pay him for coaching. He just does it because he loves hockey and he loves helping us, and he's been coming for quite a few years. So I think we get Ken tonight, which is good. He always makes us do a lot of good drills, lots of running. I need lots of running. Hate running, but if I'm running for a ball, that's okay. Just hate running for the sake of running. Yeah, I've got to go to training in about half an hour. So I'll do a little bit more, about 15 more minutes. And then if I don't get all these pieces of fabric stitched down, I will come back after hockey and I will just finish off a little bit before posting my video. So that means my video will probably be a little bit after Rachel's tonight. And we were both talking about this the other day. I try to think I'm going to be organised and do it on a Sunday, and it never happens. And then I'm always get home late from work on a Monday, and then I think I should do it on Tuesday, and I don't. I am very much a procrastinator. I am not good at meeting a deadline, although I do try, and at work I often have to, so I just have to make myself. But I pretty much get things done eventually. So you can see just random straight stitches holding the fabrics in place, and it's giving the wing some nice texture at the same time. Like the frayed bits, looks like fluffy feathers. I might decide later on to do some embroidery on here, just like some random stitches. Again, for the same reason, to make it look like feathers. I wouldn't use the same colour that I stitched it down with because it blends in really well, and I'd probably want the stitches to be a bit more noticeable. Someone asked a question which I haven't answered yet about my beak and cutting it out so small. This was my beak piece. And how I would stop it from fraying. Well, I haven't done anything to that fabric. It will fray. There is a product called Fray Stop that you can put onto the fabric to stop it from spraying, which might work. I don't really use it. If it frays, I will just probably embroider over it, embroider the beak. And because I'm not minding the texture of little bits of threads coming out, it won't bother me. All right, so my other wing. I will fray this one up again as well. And I'm going to layer this piece as well underneath just to give it a bit more colour, a little bit more of an interest. That little piece too. All right, so let me fray up this base piece. I'm going to leave the string in because I can use that colour. These mats are good. You can see I can prick into it with my needle and I'm not going to damage the surface of the table. I wasn't sure how this would look with the extra bit of fabric, but I like it. It's kind of like, you know, maybe the bird's fluffed up its feathers and some lighter feathers underneath are showing through. The boys wanted to stitch one of those Mandy Patullo birds. I kind of attempted one when we did our slow stitch collaboration with Susanna Easdale and Me Cottage Crafts and Loretta, Anne Brooke, Rachel, obviously my sister, and I did attempt one for Anne. I liked it, but I kind of thought the eye was a bit of a devilish eye. So hopefully my budgie doesn't get a devil eye. He looked a bit too serious. It was hard because the colours that Anne picked were just grey tones, and that's definitely not something that I would normally work in. You can see that I do like colour. I did kind of cheat a little bit and I had a little bit of light blue in on my bird because I felt that it needed it just to do a grey bird. It needed a pop of colour. All right, nice messy wings. Okay, I think we might tackle the tail. All right, so I've cut out two sort of random bits. This is a very thin fabric, this one. It's like an Indian textiles. I actually got it from Amy Butler. Anyone that's a quilter will know Amy Butler fabrics. I've got quite a few of her fabrics. Amy seems to be doing trips to India where she's either selecting fabrics or having fabrics printed in that Indian sort of style of thin fabric. I don't know the name of those fabrics. Someone might be able to tell me. And she was doing sort of trunk sales, I guess you'd call them, on Facebook, where she'd go live and she'd sell live, and the fabric bundles just looked absolutely divine. So I told Rachel about them and we both jumped on live, and of course the fabric bundles were the last thing that she sold, so we had to sit there, and I think from memory I got up super early in the morning like 5 a.m. or something to try not to miss out on some of these fabrics, maybe to get a couple of bundles. And so we had to watch the whole show. She was selling crystals and jewelry and all Indian kind of related. And then she did have some pouches that she'd made out of the fabric bundles. Rach and I both bought a pouch, and she had some scarves, and she had a lot of different things, but it took ages. And then the fabric bundles came up, and we knew they were numbered, and Rach and I had an idea of which numbers we'd want, but we hadn't discussed them. And so I think on the first one, I got in first. I was the first person to say sold, and I got one of the bundles. And then Rachel on the same one jumped in really quick, and she was about like the third person or something like that. And then so we picked the same one without realising. And then the next one came up that we wanted to buy, and Rachel was the first and I was the third. So we were a bit nuts getting in there early. So we both ended up getting the bundles that we were after, which was great, which were the same. And it was quite expensive. I think the fabric bundles, I can't remember. They were like, I don't know, like 100, but there was a lot of fabrics in there. It might have been $100 or something like that. But there was a lot of fabrics in there, a lot of choices, and I think they were half yard, so there was a decent amount of fabric. And I bought one pouch, and I think Rach bought a pouch, and she bought something else. Can't remember. It might have been a scarf or something like that. Anyway, they said that they would be as economical as they could with the shipping, and we ended up getting our invoice for the whole thing, including shipping. And I think in the end, it cost me all up, the two bundles of fabric. The small pouch wasn't a big pouch, just like a pencil case kind of thing. And the shipping ended up costing me $400, which for me, with our conversion rate, I don't know, it was like $600 or so. It was ridiculous. So I was actually really disappointed. The US shipping, $100 US shipping, that was so expensive. And anyway, Rach was even worse because she had the massive shipping bill as well. But then, you know, they'd written the value of what she'd bought on the thing, and when it gets to Italy, she then had to pay an astronomical amount in duty as well. So she had to pay heaps more. She was so upset. It's not the first time she's had to do it. I won't name the person, but there was someone else who had made something for Rachel, and it was kind of like a gift, and she'd written that it cost, I don't know, it was a piece of slow stitching embroidery, and the lady that made it wrote down that the value of it was like, I don't know, like £100 or something. And sure, if you count the hours and you were selling it to Rachel, yeah, maybe you would charge £100, but in terms of the amount of materials in it, it certainly wasn't worth that much. And I mean, that's what I'd do. I'd always price it based on the materials, and if I'm using things from my crafty op shop, it's much cheaper. But Rachel ended up having to pay, Rachel will be able to correct me here, but I don't know, it was something ridiculous. She had to pay like so much money duty because the person wrote that the value was so high, and it was meant to be like a gift. So that was upsetting as well. So I don't know, I guess you've got to be careful about writing what amount it's worth. Maybe just write for the amount of the materials, rather than putting the value on your time. Because some countries, like I've never been charged extra duty here in Australia, but I know Rachel has many times, which is hard because you're already, like if you're buying through Etsy or something, you're already paying. You're paying all the extra taxes. Like I think she has, is it the VAT tax? I don't know. She's already paying all the extra taxes when she buys something. And then to pay extra again on top of it, it means things probably aren't worth buying in the end. All right, I'm just going to do a little bit of random stitching just on the other part of the tail fabric that's showing. It does look a bit funny the way I finished fabric here, but it doesn't continue up here. But I'm going to do some bullion knot stitches over that are going to be the feet, and I think that you really won't notice that once I put the feet in place. There for the moment. I've still got about, what's the time? Yeah, I've got about 10 more minutes until I have to get ready. So I think what I'll do is I'll try and sew on the head now. We'll see how that looks. And then if I get that head sewn on, you'll get the idea of everything. And I might not come and film more after hockey because usually I'm tired. We'll see. And then next week I will finish off my block with my embroider my flowers and some leaves and do the feet and maybe finish stitching the face of the bird as well. Okay, so there's my little head. I think I might do a little overcast stitch around the outside, and I want it to be, seeing if I've got a yellow. Yes. Crafty Op Shop, 70 cents, brand new, hasn't even been opened. 100% cotton, 91 meters, 100 yards. Mercerized cotton thread. Love these threads. I do buy them in different colors. All right, so I'm just doing a single strand of the yellow cotton. Let me get my budgie head in place nicely. And I'm just going to do a little overcast stitch the whole way around. I might do some extra embroidery on top, maybe even with a yellow wool later on. But I really just want you to get the idea of how I'm stitching all the different fabrics in place. The other thing I was going to say about the Amy Butler trunk show, I did love the majority of the fabrics. There's a few that maybe not as much my taste, but I might still use them. Some of them are different thicknesses of cotton. Some were the quite thin ones, and then some were slightly thicker. And for the most part, I love them. But we thought that they were super limited edition, and maybe that was the only time they were going to be for sale. That's why we rushed in to get them. And she's had several trunk shows, I'm pretty sure, with the same fabrics or similar. So we didn't have to rush as much as we did because we could have got them at another time, but it sort of made us think that we needed to do that. The way they were being advertised and promoted, we thought that. But anyway, I ended up making a bunch of masks out of some of them. They're really pretty patterns, some of them, and I made lovely masks, and quite a few people asked me where I got them. And being quite a thin cotton, they were soft, but I had layers of other cotton in the middle to make sure that they fit the standards for what we were being recommended in terms of fabric masks, although I believe fabric masks aren't that great, so I think I then started using the paper ones, which were better. I think sewing with the thin cottons on this fabric part was a good idea, and I might need to do the same on my little nose and this little thing that goes on top of the nose. I think I might just use this type of cotton too. But yep, I think I better go now. Go and get ready to go to hockey. If I feel energetic when I come back, I will stitch this down and show you. And maybe do a little bit of embroidery on here. And the little you know, the little black things that are on budgies, the little black feather parts, I need to embroider them. So we'll see. If not, if I don't come back, I will do that all next week. Okay, thanks for watching this first part, and I may or may not see you later. Okay, just show you up closely before I say bye. Okay, bye. Okay, I'm back just to show you I've done a couple of extra things to finish off tonight. So I did bullion stitch, focus, bullion stitch to make the claws, the feet go over the branch, and I use this kind of razzle dazzle metallic thread. It's like you get it from Sue Spargo, but I actually found this at the Crafty Op shop. I've got a few colours. And then I've just stitched down the little beak, and I stitched on this piece of, it looks like tatting kind of lace. So that will be, sorry, focusing again, a bit wobbly. That will be all I do tonight, and then next week I just got to do a little bit more embellishing on my bird and jazz up my tree a little bit. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed seeing what I did this week, and I'll see you again next week to finish off my block. Thanks for watching. Bye.